All right, so you're thinking about making a big move, maybe down to South America? Well, a brand new strategic report for 2026 just dropped, and it reveals something pretty surprising. Turns out the places you think are the best options, they might actually be the worst. Yeah, the old rules are completely out, and we're about to break down exactly why.
So let's just jump right in. If your whole relocation plan is built on, old travel blogs or what you've seen on Instagram, you could be walking straight into a trap. What we're doing here is digging into a serious, data-driven analysis that goes way, way beyond the usual tourist guides.
We're putting 4 major players under the microscope today: Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. Now, each one of these offers something really unique, but as you're about to see, the actual on-the-ground reality for a long-term American expat is, well, it's a whole lot more complicated than it looks.
Okay, let's get started. Round 1 is all about the human element, right? We're calling it vibe and safety. Basically, how are you going to be received, and maybe more importantly, how secure are you actually going to be day to day? This chart here shows there's some real nuance in how Americans are perceived. In Chile, it's very pragmatic, kind of a professional relationship. Peru is generally positive. Argentina, it's a bit divided, but there's a deep cultural connection there. But take a look at Colombia. Favorability is high, sure, but the data is pointing to a growing, critical tension that we really need to talk about.
And that tension, it has a name: turistification. In super popular spots like Medellín, the flood of remote workers is jacking up prices, and that's leading to this feeling of economic displacement. This isn't just some abstract idea. It actually translates into real-world friction. The big takeaway here is that a warm welcome online doesn't always mean you'll get a warm welcome on the street.
Okay, now let's pivot to security and see how this all connects. On the surface, you might hear things, people might think Chile has issues, but the data paints a totally different picture. It's an institutional fortress with really high police standards and a low risk of lethal violence. Now compare that to Colombia. It's facing a structural challenge. We're talking organized urban crime and a specific and frankly frightening risk of being drugged with escopolamina. This is a massive, massive difference in your day-to-day reality.
Okay, let's move on. Round 2, cost and infrastructure. This is where we break out the spreadsheets. Let's really look at what your dollar can buy you and what kind of foundation you'll actually have to work from.
This table tells such a powerful story. You can see right away, Chile is the most expensive. The costs are more like what you'd find in Southern Europe. Colombia, on the other hand, is consistently pretty low cost. But the real headline here, the thing you have to notice, is the purchasing power of the US dollar. See that word under Argentina?
Extreme. Right now, this report says Argentina is offering one of the most aggressive cost arbitrage opportunities on the entire planet. For anyone earning in US dollars, the lifestyle you can afford in a city like Buenos Aires it's almost unbelievable. But, there's always a but.
And here it is. Here's the catch. That extreme value comes with some seriously creaky infrastructure. The report points to a very real risk of summer power outages because of an underfunded electrical grid. So yeah, your rent might be dirt cheap, but you could find yourself completely unable to work if you don't have a backup generator.
Now let's look at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. The median fixed download speed in Chile is a staggering 480 megabits per second. Just to put that in perspective for you, that's often faster than what you'd get back in the US. For any remote professional, this is basically Silicon Valley level infrastructure. It makes Chile the undisputed king in this category, no question.
All right, on to our third and final round, visas and taxes. This is the stuff nobody ever talks about on social media, but believe me, it is without a doubt the one factor that can make or break your entire expat experience and your financial future. Let's kick things off with Colombia's 183-day rule. It sounds simple, right? Stay more than half the year and you're a fiscal resident. But the consequence of that is massive. You suddenly become subject to Colombian taxes up to 39% on your entire worldwide income. This can turn a cheap cost of living into an absolute financial nightmare.
Now look at the complete opposite. Chile offers what the report calls a tax holiday. For your first 3 years as a resident, you're only taxed on income you earn inside Chile. That means your US salary, your investment income, it's all exempt from Chilean taxes. And this can even be extended up to 6 years, which basically makes Chile a de facto tax haven for remote professionals.
So what about the others? Well, Argentina's Nomad visa has a really specific exemption. If you have that visa, you are not considered a fiscal resident for your foreign income. That is a huge, huge plus.
Peru, on the other hand, is kind of stuck in regulatory limbo. The nomad visa isn't fully implemented yet, and that creates a ton of legal and tax uncertainty. That's a major red flag for anyone planning on staying long-term.
So we've looked at the vibe, the cost, the infrastructure, and the all-important taxes. Now it's time to see how it all adds up. Let's get to the final verdict from the report.
And here are the numbers. Just take a second to let this sink in. Look at how close that race is at the top between Argentina and Chile, but also look at the bottom. Colombia, despite all the hype you see online, scores a remarkably low 6.30 out of 10. The data is telling a very, very different story than the one you see on social media.
So, Argentina takes the top spot with an 8.45. Why? Well, because its world-class lifestyle and that insane cost advantage, when you combine it with that favorable tax rule for nomads, it's just too powerful to ignore. The report concludes that if you're willing to navigate the economic volatility, the payoff is simply unbeatable.
Coming in at a very, very close second is Chile with an 8.15. The report really frames this as the top choice for the risk-averse professional. Sure, it might be more expensive, maybe a little less socially vibrant, but that combination of elite safety, first-world infrastructure, and that incredible tax holiday, it creates a stable, powerful platform for building your wealth.
And now we have to talk about the paradox. Why did the internet's darling, Colombia, score so low? The analysis is blunt. There are severe security risks that go way beyond just petty crime, plus a punitive tax system for anyone staying over 6 months. According to this report, that just makes it fundamentally unsuitable for long-term residency. It's a fantastic place to visit for sure, but a really risky place to try and build a life.
So what does all this mean for you? Well, the report boils it down to 3 really clear strategies. If your number one priority is tax savings and stability, the data points straight to Chile. If you're chasing that incredible lifestyle and want to maximize the power of your dollar, Argentina is your play. And if you're a true nomad, the smartest move is a circuit, spending less than 6 months in each place so you never trigger tax residency. Ultimately, what this report shows is that the best place doesn't really exist. There's only the best strategic fit for your personal and financial goals. So now that you have the data, which choice makes the most sense for you?